Visionary leaders have bridged great gulfs of differences to walk in peace. The Mayflower Compact brought unity to the 102 Mayflower passengers and articulated principles of respect and choice upon which a great nation was founded.
The Mayflower Compact was drawn up on the Mayflower, under these circumstances as described by Governor William Bradford. This day, before we came to harbour, observing some not well affected to unity and concord, but gave some appearance of faction, it was thought good there should be an association and agreement, that we should combine together in one body, and to submit to such government and governors as we should by common consent agree to make and choose.
At their first meeting, Wampanoag sachem, Massasoit, and the Pilgrim leaders drafted an agreement that embodied the principles found in the Mayflower Compact and guided their peoples in peace and friendship for an entire generation, giving birth to the American mind and a new era of possibility.
The Mayflower Pilgrims first made landfall in Provincetown Harbor. We're here in front of a plaque that commemorates the signing of the Mayflower Compact. The Pilgrims formed this document in the hold of the Mayflower before they came on land. And they wrote this document to pull the people together on the Mayflower. People who, because their patent that they had for Virginia was no longer valid because they were in New England, the people were talking of mutiny. They were talking that once they landed, it was going to be every man for themselves. And they knew, because it was November in New England and it was freezing, that if they didn't pull themselves together, that they would die. So the people from Leiden, Holland, who were the group of about 56 people, pulled the rest of the people together, and they formed this document. And in this document, they committed to each other that they would form themselves into a civil body politic, and that they would create equal and just laws serving the common good, and that they would swear obedience to these laws as well as to the offices and officers that they created to implement these laws. In other words, this little document is a format for democracy. They didn't realize when they were sitting there drafting this document that they were forming a new form of government, the basis of a new form of government. They wanted a social document that they would have that would keep them together working for the common good. This document drew up a way of living in community, that these people, once they disembarked from the Mayflower and established a community in Plymouth, they lived by the principles of this document. It became not only a lovely paragraph of ideals and principles, but they put it to work, and they established a community based on these principles. The Pilgrims drafted this document, the Mayflower Compact, in November, and they landed and they came into Plymouth and they set up their community based on these principles. And they would read this document before every meeting to remind themselves of these principles. And after a few months, they came in contact with Massasoit, the chief of the Wampanoag Indians. And at their first meeting, they sat down and drafted a peace treaty that embodied the principles in this Mayflower Compact. And this peace treaty was to last for 50 years, the entire lifetime of Massasoit and the Pilgrim governors. And these great leaders put these principles to work to bring these two cultures together for this period of time. The Mayflower Compact was an articulation of a desire of these people from England to live in an equal way with equal laws and be a self-governing community with a constitution basically that was based on the consent of the governed. This was a unique concept in Western thought. It was not, however, a unique concept on the land of the Americas, because the Iroquois, in their confederacy that had been formed 500 years before the landing of Columbus, they had already in place a democracy. And this had been implemented by the Iroquois for many, many, many years prior to the landing of the Mayflower Pilgrims. It was the coming of these pilgrims from the Western mind and the articulation of it through the native mind here in the Americas that ultimately formed our great Constitution. So now we have this great document, our Constitution, that's really come up through the Pilgrims, through these ideals that came in the Mayflower Compact, and it came through these ideas from the Iroquois Confederacy and from the human heart, from this great urging of the human heart to be free, the human spirit, to live in a self-determining manner. And the world is looking to us to embody these principles, to truly live these principles that are in this Constitution, and truly create a world in which the human spirit can flourish and the individual can be honored, and the intrinsic power of the individual can come to play on the human condition.